What if Hitler got into art school? Adolf Hitler was rejected from art school. Twice. This is one of the most famous butterfly effect moments in all of history. He applied to the Vienna Academy of Fine Arts in 1907, and again in 1908. And both times they said no thanks. But let's wind back time. Let's imagine a small change, a nudge. What if the admissions board at the Vienna Academy said, "Not bad. Let's give this guy a shot." One letter, one word, accepted. And everything changes. Adolf Hitler becomes a student of the Vienna Academy of Fine Arts. He studies architecture, hones his skills, debates over coffee in Viennese cafes, and develops a reputation as a gloomy, meticulous painter with a fascination for historical buildings. He paints obsessively. He struggles, but he never turns to politics. The bitterness that once festered in beer halls is poured instead into oil on canvas. Instead of radicalizing in the streets of Munich, he is sitting in gallery halls critiquing exhibitions. He sends letters to obscure art magazines complaining about surrealism and cubism, not Jews or Bolsheviks. In one timeline, he writes Mein Kampf. In this one, he writes a 500-page manifesto on why modern art is garbage. He becomes a strange footnote in the art world, the kind of painter who never evolves, never adapts, but never gives up. A fixture of Viennese backrooms and art debates, a tragic artist, not a global tyrant. Germany still loses First World War. The Treaty of Versailles still humiliates the nation. But without Hitler, there is no Nazi party. No charismatic figure to weaponize national resentment. Germany experiences unrest, but it's shaped by communists, monarchists, and fragmented right-wing nationalists. By the 1930s, Germany's democracy is barely holding. Instead of the NSDAP, the strongest political forces are paramilitary factions, including monarchists who want the Kaiser back, and radical communists inspired by Lenin's revolution. In 1934, the military stages a coup, forming a technocratic junta. Their ideology isn't racial supremacy, but order and revenge. They begin rearming in secret, building a new war machine, not to create a 1,000-year Reich, but to restore lost dignity and territory. World War II still happens, but it looks very different. It begins in 1942 when Germany invades Belgium and the Netherlands. France is caught off guard not by blitzkrieg, but by old-school military power. Britain prepares defenses, but has no Churchill to rally the nation. The politics of the 1940s are defined not by ideological extremism, but by cold calculations. In the East, Stalin views the German buildup with suspicion. Without a non-aggression pact, he sends Soviet forces into Poland preemptively. The front lines stretch from Warsaw to the Balkans. Then, Japan joins. Not as Germany's ally, but as a third contender in the great power struggle. While Europe burns, Japan pushes into Siberia, seeing opportunity in the East. The war becomes a three-front chess match. Alliances shift. Lines blur. Without Hitler, there is no ideology of extermination. Jewish citizens in Europe face prejudice, yes, but not systematic murder. However, war has a way of spawning its own horrors. Japan, emboldened and unchecked in Asia, commits widespread atrocities in China, Korea, and Manchuria. Unit 731 performs human experiments. Forced labor camps operate across the continent. General Tomoya Kawamura becomes the architect of terror in the East. In this timeline, the term crimes against humanity is coined not after Auschwitz, but after the fall of Harbin. The Tokyo trials become the world's first major reckoning with state-sponsored genocide. The fall of the Soviet Union stretched too thin. Fighting Germany in the west and Japan in the east, the Soviet Union collapses by 1951. A missile attack levels Moscow. The Politburo dissolves. Ukraine and the Caucasus fall under German control. Eastern Siberia becomes a Japanese protectorate. The communist dream dies early. The Cold War never becomes US versus USSR because there is no USSR left. What follows is not peace, but tension. Three superpowers emerge: the German-European bloc, the Japanese Greater East Asia Co-Prosperity Sphere, and the United States. The nuclear age begins late. The first bomb is dropped not by America, but by Japan, on Seoul, during the Korean Revolt of 1957. Shocked, the US launches its Manhattan Redux project. Germany follows. The space race is slow and surreal. Germany sends the first satellite, Wachturm 1, into orbit in 1963. The first man on the moon is not Armstrong, but Helmut Becker in 1971, stepping onto the lunar surface with a red-white-black patch on his suit. Who became the face of evil? Without Hitler, there is no ultimate evil to point to, but someone always takes that role. Kawamura's war crimes, broadcast in courtrooms across the world, become the new standard of horror. Photos of mutilated civilians in Nanjing replace the images of Auschwitz in history textbooks. Stalin is remembered as a ruthless leader, but without Hitler to compare him to, his crimes receive less immediate condemnation. This alternate world lacks a singular devil, but has many demons. With no Holocaust, Jewish life in Europe thrives. Yiddish remains a dominant language in Central Europe. Berlin hosts a massive Jewish cultural renaissance in the 1950s. Tel Aviv grows slowly, founded not by refugees, but idealists. Einstein stays in Europe, so does Freud. The intellectual centers shift to Vienna, Zurich, and Krakow. The Middle East still becomes a geopolitical hotspot, but without the trauma of Second World War, the borders are drawn differently. Fewer wars erupt, oil politics dominate, but ideology stays muted. Adolf Hitler lives out his days in Vienna. His paintings are shown in minor exhibits. Critics call his work technically sound but emotionally distant. He writes a bitter memoir in 1953, blaming the art world for ignoring him. He dies in 1957 of a stroke, alone, obscure, no parades, no legacy. Just a footnote, a failed artist who never got loud enough to matter. History is rarely changed by tanks. It's changed by small, unnoticed moments. A door opening, a paper stamped, a portfolio accepted. A world without Hitler as dictator is not necessarily peaceful, but it is different. Vastly, messily, mysteriously. Because in history, the monsters we remember are often the ones we created by accident, and the lives we never think about, the quiet ones, might be the ones that saved us all from something worse. One rejection, one revolution, one rewrite of the 20th century. You just watched one fracture point. There are hundreds more. Hit subscribe, and let's break history open.